So we've talked a lot about oxalates, but we've not really said how they function, how it works, and how it affects your horse. So in your normal circumstances, the horse will eat the pasture containing calcium. This calcium is just absorbed from the small intestine. The calcium is used by the horse, so this maintains the blood calcium levels, so homeostasis. Calcium that's not required is then stored in the bone or excreted via the kidneys. However, if your horse is on high oxalate subtropical pastures, what happens is the calcium in the pasture is bound to the oxalate. So the calcium then is not able to be absorbed from the small intestine. It's pretty much blocked from moving anywhere. So now that there's no calcium being moved into the bloodstream, the calcium has to be removed pretty much from the bone to remain these blood calcium levels. So therefore, that's when your bones become weak, the facial bones expand, the horse's behavior changes, and all those signs that we talked about in the first slide, this is when they begin to show.
And actually, just on that too, I remember asking the question, a while ago, why can't it be absorbed when it's bound to the oxalates? And I mean, we could probably go into depth quite a lot about that, but my understanding is that the molecules are actually just too big. The molecule size, or it comes down to just not having the cell receptors to go through that cell membrane exchange. But yeah, at the end of the day, they're just not available for uptake. That's my favorite table. Maddie, you did be honest. This is awesome.
Okay, so Hayley was fantastic. She found this table and then added her own little bit of artistic bits throughout it. So when we're talking about the calcium and oxalate and how they affect each other, so if we use the roads here as an example, so it's got 0.8% calcium. However, in it also has 0.45% oxalate. So the calcium availability is only 76%. So rather than having 0.8 calcium readily available for the horse, they end up having only 0.61 pretty much percent. So if we go down to, let's say, our buffalo grass, we've got 0.4% calcium. However, it's got 1.06% oxalate. So the calcium availability is reduced significantly down to 17%. So from that 0.4% calcium available over here, we end up only having 0.068, which is almost next to nothing. And then if we go down to our cetarium, so we've got 0.27% calcium, and our ocean chaff here is 0.11, so almost less than half pretty much. However, the oxalate in our cetaria grass is 1.6%, but in ocean chaff only 0.08. So if 100% of that calcium is available, so the 0.11, they're getting all of that calcium. But because there's 1.6% oxalate and calcium availability is 0%, they get nothing from the cetaria grass. So even though there's more calcium here, they have nothing available to them. And even though this is such a small amount here, they've got all of it available for them in the oat and chaff. So that just puts it into perspective, the amount of calcium that may already be there, but the amount that's actually available to the horse.
Yeah, and that scenario is taken away from the calcium to phosphorus ratio as well. So that's a whole other kettle of fish in this situation. But it's just interesting to see how much is actually available. And also looking at Kikuyu, it didn't have a huge amount of calcium in it to start with, but only 20% calcium availability. So you only got 0.05, what is that, parts per million, or 0.5 parts per million in actually available in Kikuyu, which is really quite low. So that's a really cool little table to really look at that, and I wish it was a little bit more extensive and had every grass there available. I'm sorry, that's the best I could do.
No, I like that. It's pretty cool to see the relationship that people do think that they might be getting that calcium through the roughage, but when you're breaking it down like that with the relationship between calcium and oxalate, yeah, it's really cool.